Welcome to The Grow Show with me as your host, Joe Camerato. I am an entrepreneur who created my company, National Business Capital, from literally $0 out of my spare bedroom to over $2 billion in business loans secured for entrepreneurs nationwide. Since 2007, I have seen just about every type of business. I provide money and help entrepreneurs access capital to scale fast, but I also know that it's possible for you as you scale to replace yourself, to build systems, processes, and great teams of people that can live on without you so you can actually enjoy your life and your company can still grow. I will not only tell you the peaks and valleys of my story, but I will also bring on world-class entrepreneurs to tell their stories and share their lessons on their growth journeys. Welcome to The Grow Show. All right. Welcome to The Grow Show. Thanks for tuning in. As you know, my show is all about helping entrepreneurs grow, break through challenges, get to the next level, make it happen in whatever industry they're dominating. Matt Brown is an awesome entrepreneur, and he also helps entrepreneurs grow and get to that next level. Matt is the Chief Excitement Officer of ShowWorks Media, and he started the Matt Brown Show in 2015 with a single mission to bring the community of influencers, entrepreneurs, investors, and business leaders together, one conversation at a time. He's also a serial entrepreneur and founded over 14 startups over the last 20 years and has built and exited multiple million-dollar businesses. Thanks for being on the show, Matt.
You're very welcome, Joseph. Thanks for having me on.
You got it, man. And excited to talk about your new book that you got out, The Secrets of Influence. I'm excited to hear about that. And, please tell us about the book.
Yeah, man. So influence is a very powerful idea. And if you think about, my journey with the Matt Brown Show and the true successes that I've had in terms of being an entrepreneur and founder over the last 2 decades, it all actually came down to one thing, and that was influence. And it was interesting when I arrived in the States, I've been here about a year and a half now from South Africa originally. And when I arrived in the States, I basically lost all my network. And so obviously I had the show, however, and so I sent 1,000 emails to California-based startups who had raised $1 million or more in the previous 12 months. And basically sent a very simple email. I actually share the email in the book, the exact one that I used. But I was like, hey, my name's Matt Brown. I'd love the chance to interview you on my popular business show, the Matt Brown Show. I've had these guys on the show, Steve Blank, Jeffrey Moore, New York Times bestselling authors, and, it's free. So here's the booking link. Let me know. Book your interview if you're interested. So I went to bed that night, woke up the next morning, and I was literally horrified about what I saw in my inbox, which was basically 190 booked interviews with some of the most vision. Yeah, it was crazy, dude. And I was like, holy shit, what have I done? And so for the next 8 weeks from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., all I was doing was interviewing these visionary founders. And then when I stepped back, I asked myself the question, I was like, why did that work? Like, what is that? Right. And I was like, you know what it is? It's actually influence. And that was the spark where I thought, I actually need to start sharing some of this stuff because influence is actually largely misunderstood. So what typically happens if you say the word influencer, what do you think of? Well, you think of influence marketing. And so influencer marketing is probably the worst type of influence ever, because if someone's paying you to promote a product that you don't use just because you have 1 million followers, it's not exactly ethically correct use of influence. You're enriching yourself, basically. So you get paid $10,000 to promote Joe's product or whatever, and so true influence is not about enriching yourself. It's actually about elevating others. And so when you think about that email that I sent to those 1,000 startups, like, why did I get such an incredible response from them? Well, it was because by giving them access to my show, my platform, I was giving them a chance to elevate themselves. And so obviously off the back of that, I grew a massive network. Some of those guys became some of my clients, but none of that would have happened if I wasn't elevating them. In other words, if I said, hey, my name's Matt Brown, I want, come on my show, pay $1,000 and I'll interview you, how many responses do you think I would have got? Almost none, because I would have been enriching myself. And so the whole book is about painting the truth about what influence actually is for visionary founders, startup founders, entrepreneurs, and CEOs.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, so you sent out all those emails the next morning, 190 people. You must have been doing interviews from like sun up to sundown for
Mm,
months.
yeah, it killed me.
Well,
But it's what I was doing. It was the one thing that I had at my disposal when I was fresh off the boat from Africa. And it was an amazing exercise in what true influence really is, and it's just really snowballed from there.
I love that too, and I respect it. You said you moved here, you lost your network, you had to like start fresh. Most people would get like pulverized by that and do nothing, or use blame excuses, and it's just always amazing to me that people that can come here from other countries and just make stuff happen. It really is amazing. Um, what what were you doing like prior to that? Like what led you into this? And
Mm,
just curious about your other businesses and like
mhm.
what got you kind of to where you were then and then to where you are now.
Yeah, for sure. So the previous business I was in was actually a business that I didn't love. And it was called Digital Kung Fu. We were a lead generation business for brands like Microsoft, Oracle, SAP, Workday, Nutanix, these sorts of brands. And we just basically built a really innovative operating model that just cleaned up. So we just dominated everything. We smashed all the competitors. Revenues doubled every year for 3 years. We won Africa's Best Tech Startup. Everything was just amazingly successful. And unfortunately, at the time, I actually met with my mentor. So I'd just been offered my opportunity to move to the US. And I said to him, what do you think I should do? Because I'm worried that if I'm in Africa if I'm living in the US and I have an African assets, like it's very hard to run a business when you're not actually in the business. And so he said, well, sell it. And I was like, why would I do that? It's like, because, we've got all this success, global domination. And he said, well, listen here, Matt, I know this to be true. I know South African entrepreneurs that have got more money than you, bigger businesses than you. Why do you think you're the one to go to the US and win? And I said, it's a very good question, but I don't have a very good answer for you. But let me think on it and I'll let you know. But I know one thing, I'm not going to sell. And things were still growing. Everything was great. 18 months later, guess what? COVID happened and the whole world changed. And guess what? I lost the opportunity to exit the business. And so I'm a great believer in like market timing. And so there's a time for you to sell and there's a time for you not to sell. And also, you really need to know what type of entrepreneur you are. Like, do you build and sell, or are you the guy that builds and holds a business, that you're going to hold for 2 decades? And I'm definitely not the latter. So I believe markets, especially now with AI in play, markets now move so fast that you actually have a window of time to sell. And any acquirer is going to be looking for any reason not to pay you the valuation that you think your business is worth. So they'll look for a quarter where your revenue stayed flat or maybe they declined. And then they'll go, yeah, but that's writing on the wall.com. And so I missed that opportunity to sell. And I wish I'd just listened to my mentor. But that was like everything that was going on, and then eventually I moved to the States and I liquidated that business. Unfortunately, it couldn't run without me. And it was tough, man. It was a tough time, but tough times don't last, tough people do. And when you've been through hell, sometimes the only way out is through. And so for me, the US was all about taking all the lessons about failure, actually, and doing things differently with the show, with the business, and an end. But that's really kind of what was like happening in Africa just before I arrived in the States.
Wow. And then it led you into this business
Mm.
and obviously creating and getting this book out there. How are you working with entrepreneurs and what's your business and your focus today?
Mm. Yeah, so today it's all about influence, and really helping busy CEOs and founders become persons of influence. So, in other words, if I'm able to help busy CEOs, founders, entrepreneurs to become persons of influence, I'm really helping them to elevate their teams, to elevate their markets, to elevate their own brand, their personal brand, their business brand, scale their companies. And so the why behind the Matt Brown Show was always was to make a difference, positive difference to entrepreneurs around the world through information sharing at scale. So that was always the why. But now it's all about recognizing, for me at least, what, having written 3 books, all bestsellers, what moves influence more than anything else, and it's a best-selling book. And so for me, especially if you're playing in a competitive market, if you've written the book on the customer problem, your prospect will always choose you over the competition because you have more credibility. So if someone's, if you're trying to sell something, product or service, someone will always Google your name, right? Or they'll Google your company, and what will they find? So that for me is a whole bunch of credibility signals that live in a digital footprint that people are not thinking about. Like what if you Google Matt Brown Show, you'll find like a plethora of stuff like books, YouTube channels, content, blah, blah, blah. And so immediately I'm able to open up a relationship with any CEO, a billionaire, anyone, anywhere in the world because of the credibility that I have, and that the trust and the reputation that I have through the show. And so for me, I'm all about taking, what I've learned over the last decade of really becoming an influencer myself through the show, and really working with CEOs and entrepreneurs to help them become best-selling authors and speakers and persons of influence. Because I do believe that it's the currency of modern business leadership today.
Yeah, no, I definitely couldn't agree more. I mean, that's why I started, Grow by Joe and everything I'm doing. I think it's really important. But I also think too, I don't think most entrepreneurs, CEOs, founders, I don't think you realize how much information like that you really have, how much knowledge you have. When you're doing what you're doing every day, you just think like everyone knows what you knows, or it's just so, it's just so simple, or like I don't like what do I really know? What do I have to share? Like who am I to write a book or whatever? But I think if you're like a leader and built a great business, you know more than you realize, and people are interested in that information.
Mm-hmm.
So no, it's definitely great. I really agree too, just about like building a company. You really got to get clear on you building to hold, or are you building to scale and sell? And I think you need to understand too, like, is your business a thing that's always going to be in need, or is it is it a fad? Is it the market going to change? Can AI take you out? Like, I don't think a lot of business owners really look at that, and understand really that enough. And I was talking about this with someone recently. I mean, if you just own your business, and that's your business, and that's where your income comes from. I mean, your business is really a stock. You're trying to grow market value. You're trying to take out dividends, right? Like, you wouldn't just only put all of your money into one stock. And I think it's important that, if you aren't planning on selling, that you are pulling money out of your business and diversifying it into other things and other assets. I think it's really, really important.
Yeah, absolutely. I think people underestimate just exactly how much things are changing, especially with artificial generative intelligence, or AI in general. Um, it's like every startup today is a AI enabled business. Meanwhile, they just have a chat GPT integration.
Yeah, exactly.
So here's the thing for me, right? I think if you're a business, B2B business, right? What do most people or go-to-market motions look like? Well, they're either marketing the problem or they're marketing the solution, but they're not necessarily marketing their value or asking, what is our real value? And so if you think about the Matt Brown Show as an example, what is the problem that I could solve for a CEO? Well, I'll tell you what, you want exposure. I'll interview you for an hour. So you come into the show, you need exposure. Problem, solution is I'll interview you for an hour. You can promote the hell out of your business. So that would be a pretty shitty form of value creation for me, right? So yes, I make $1,000 to interview this guy, what have you. But it's a hard sell, and it's also not very attractive. So then the question becomes, well, what's my real value? Is my real value in interviewing someone? Possibly. But also the correct answer to that question is, well, my real value is not in interviewing one episode or one CEO. It's in all the 850 interviews that I've already done. It's in all the books that I've created, all the thought leadership content. And so what we've actually built, and this is true, if you sign up as part of my community on mattbrownshow.com, you'll get access to Matt Brown AI. So basically, this AI is my own custom AI that's been trained on all the real stories, the insights, the data points, the lessons from all of these super successful business owners, right? So entrepreneurs, billionaires, blah, blah. And now, you don't have the time to listen to 850 hours of podcasts as an example. But as an entrepreneur, what you want access to is the knowledge. Because if you get stuck, you want to figure out, well, what's the best decision that I need to make in this particular stage of company or in this particular scenario. And so all of that knowledge, by the way, doesn't exist in ChatGPT. It's all conversation. It's a body of work that I've been cultivating and facilitating for the last 9 years. And so now you're able to get access to all this information in a fraction of a second. So what am I actually doing? When I'm scaling my value, I'm not marketing a problem or a solution. I'm actually scaling my influence using new forms of value that 18 months ago were impossible to create. In fact, 6 months ago. And so now even I'm able to unlock a whole Spanish market because you can talk to me in Spanish or Chinese or French. Whereas a Spanish person, right, isn't going to be listening to an English white guy called Matt Brown, is he? But he will certainly listen to one who speaks Spanish, because in Spain, you have to speak Spanish to listen to someone or to get any kind of attention. And then weirdly enough, my team actually sent me, it's very freaky, but they sent me it was like a digital avatar of me speaking in Chinese without me obviously knowing a word of Chinese myself. Pretty crazy.
Wow.
Right. So this is why I'm saying, if people underestimate exactly where we are now, and to your point, I think that AI is going to decimate a lot of businesses. And I do believe also that this new world of AI, AGI especially, is going to unlock opportunities that an aggressive, hungry, visionary entrepreneur can commercialize way faster than has ever been possible before. Because if you figure out new forms of value exchange and you can just figure out the system, and I write about this in my book, about influence systems and stuff. But I think if you're a hungry startup founder, business owner, and you can figure out, oh, hang on, how's the world actually changed, or where's it going? And you can future pace your value to that new industry, like take self-publishing as an example, ripe for disruption, hasn't been disrupted since 1979. Guys are going to get rich quicker than ever before. And so the thing for me, though, it's about perspective. So if I think about, what have I actually generated over, 10 years of interviewing all these guys, 800 episodes, it's perspective. So fewer than 0.2% of podcasts actually get past 700 interviews. So I'm already in the 0.1% category as an example, but I'm rich in perspective. And I believe that the opportunity for business owners today is to think about, well, how can I cultivate a richer perspective on what I'm doing? Because if you are always, wealthy or rich in perspective, you will always have opportunities to generate wealth. But if you are poor in perspective, you will always remain poor. You will never quite get to where you want to get to in your life. And I think that's a big opportunity now. It's like, what is this new perspective that I can go to, think about, like in terms of the world, in this new world that we're inheriting, and how can I change and take, advantage of that?
Yeah, no, it is really a wild time, and it is amazing what you can do with all the different AI stuff. And it's pretty amazing how you can be talking in all these different languages, doing things. And I was just talking about someone with that, and I mean, you can get basically your images taken, and boom, there's your avatar, and you're rocking and rolling. But just all the other different things that you can do with AI and automation. I was just talking about this, with another entrepreneur, and I think just because of AI and how quickly I think things are going to change, it's all about how much value are you bringing back to the market. So I think it's important, as a business owner, and just people, and all these like low level tasks are going to get eaten up by automation and AI. Mm-hmm. So you really have to bring value back to the market as we move forward to be able to bring that worth and still have a job and a position. I don't think a lot of people really realize that. Mm. All the redundancy type of things are going to be automated. It's already happening.
Mm. And good riddance. Like, who wants to do the manual, automated administrative? I mean,
put your brain to work.
QuickBooks AI. There you go. Fix all my accounting reconciliation transactions. I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
and I don't want to pay an accountant to do it. So if
Yeah.
QuickBooks built the thing and it was able to learn and absorb, observe exactly what you're doing and just reconcile all your monthly transactions, like the whole accounting industry doesn't even exist necessarily anymore. Do you see what I mean? Or it would need to be a new version of that, right? Knowing that this new way of working in just accounting is now real,
Yeah. Yeah. So what do you think will be the best takeaways that someone can get out of reading your new book? Thank you for sending it to me. I'm excited to read it.
Yeah, man. Probably that influence is probably largely misunderstood. If you ask 10 CEOs what is influence, you get 10 different answers. And that's true. If you ask 100, you get 100 different answers. But I think one of the key things for me is about understanding what influence is really. And it's about elevating others. And then the second thing is really about, how do you cultivate and grow and scale your own influence truly so that you can become a person of influence and of value. And so in the book, I share a number of things around, influence systems. I give you the prompts to create a best-selling book, which is the best business card you can ever have. I give you loads of frameworks for thought leadership, and I paint a very real picture of how thought leadership even is misunderstood. So what's currently happening is that people are going to ChatGPT and going, hey, write me a thought leadership article on small business lending or loans or whatever, or marketing automation or email marketing or social digital marketing or whatever. And unfortunately, what that does, it regurgitates all thinking that already exists. So that's what it's been trained on. So thought leadership means that you have to have original thinking, right? Evidence-based thinking that you have personally cultivated from a unique experience that you have, gone through yourself. So in other words, how I built $1 million business in less than 12 months without hiring a single employee. Okay, so that's a unique problem that you solved that is based on your own experience. And then you base your thought leadership and your thinking around that in a non-obvious way. It has nothing to do with, going to GPT and asking it to help you with thought leadership content. That's not really where the value is. And so if you want to lead conversations as a business leader, if you want to truly, influence your culture, if you want to raise money and you want to influence investors, if you want to, achieve any kind of business outcome, goal, and or objective, then influence is the currency that you will trade in. It's what we all trade in. And the unfortunate reality is that many of us as founders, entrepreneurs, we don't actually have any influence at all, or we don't even know where to start, right? We can't even define it, let alone cultivate it. And so what I'm hoping to do is change all that. I want to empower the next, era of business leaders, founders, and entrepreneurs. It's still the same why over the last 10 years. But now doing it in a way that's based in real evidence and real results, because I think that's what the world needs. I mean, we all need help. We're not an island, and unfortunately, our pride gets in the way, right? We don't want to ask for help. And so this book is really a way to break through all that and to leave, the community of business that I care about in a better place.
Good stuff. That's great. I look forward to it. And where could folks find you and find the book, Matt?
Amazon, Secrets of Influence, you'll find it there. You can find me anywhere, Matt Brown Show, just plug that in into any of your favorite podcasts. Or in fact, go to Google and put my name in there, Matt Brown Show. See what you find.
Nice.
Yeah, man.
Or ChatGPT.
yeah, exactly. Who's Matt Brown? Great guy.
Nice. That's great. Good stuff. And as we wrap up, what would be one growth tip that you would share, or growth advice that you would share with entrepreneurs watching the show?
For sure, man. So it's actually a quote by Plato, and I'm paraphrasing here, but he said, if a man doesn't learn to cultivate his own influence, he will eventually be ruled by lesser men. And that's a scary thing for me as an idea. So if Plato, is saying that sort of stuff, then the growth tip would be do something today, make a choice today to start cultivating your own influence.
Good stuff. Get started. You know more than you realize. Share it with the world. Be an influencer and own your industry. Thanks for being on the show. Matt, thank you everyone for watching. Keep doing what you're doing and keep growing.